Yes, then YouTube, what is going on? Wanted to jump on here today to do my first Ask Me Anything session on the YouTube. So I want to thank you guys for getting involved, giving me questions over on my Patreon and on my YouTube. So we're just gonna get into it and get through some of these questions. You guys have hit me with some good ones. If you're new to the channel, you can like and subscribe, or you can just continue watching and not do those things. But yeah, got some great questions. We're going to start off with Rudy from my Patreon, going straight in with this. No messing around. How do you come up with different basses? How did you, I'm going to put these glasses on. Jeez, I'm needing these. I'm relying on these more and more these days. How do you come up with different basses? How did you find your sound? How did you get your first set? And where did it go from there? That sounds like 4 questions. That's 4 questions, but great questions. So, how do you come up with different basses? And how did you find your sound? There's no one way to find your sound or come up with different basses. Most often people tell me, "Oh, I don't make music anymore because I just struggle to make new basses or make new sounds. I'm bad with serum, bad with post process and stuff like that." But it really is just like a push. You have to kind of push through any kind of, if you have a bit of a sticking point in your sound or in your production, you do just kind of have to stick with it, in the sense that it's not always easy, to be honest, coming up with original sounding things that can, I like to come up with things that shock myself. I'm like, wow, I'm actually quite, that's quite harmonic, or oh, that's quite interesting, or oh, I've never heard that sound before. That's what I aim for personally. Everyone's different, but it really is just a case of just pushing on with it and just trying to use different techniques, using new plugins, new techniques, resampling again. I have resampling videos on my Patreon. I'll be doing a lot more resampling videos on my Patreon, but really just, coming up with slightly new distortion methods or filtering methods. And you can't really recreate the wheel, but there are some good new plugins that have just some weird ways that they use distortion and filtering, and I just stack those, to be honest. How did you get your first set, and where did it go from there? My first set, it actually took me ages to get. It was in Brixton. It was for a promoters called Alan. I was playing dubstep at the time. Had my first set there, and I found it really hard to get. I had gone into a lot of DJ competitions and was very unsuccessful for 3 or 4 of them, and then got accepted for this one. Then after I played that one, there was another promoter there, and he got me a gig to some of his raves, and it just spiraled from there. I was just wanted to, but by the time I had my first set, I was already making. I would already started producing to a level where I'd figured out how to master a tune. Not how to master a tune, but someone had told me, your track needs mastering, your track needs mixing down. So prior to that, I hadn't had any gigs. So on my first gig, I kind of had tunes that I wouldn't say they were ready. They were terrible, but they were loud enough to play. So I hope that makes sense. Okay, and then right, next question. So big up Rudy for that question. He's he's an avid Patreon member. Who's next? Jervis. Oh, by the way, I have a release out today as well. I'll put a picture here, and I'll put the links down here. Jervis, how has your journey in music progressed to where you are now? Did you always produce jump up, other genres, etc.? Would be interesting to hear, as lots of other artists now came from all sorts of different subgenres / styles. Yeah, I started my musical journey as a drummer in a band with my cousins and Mario, who isn't my cousin, but he's just a friend. And we played lots of gigs on the London circuit, but I just wanted to do music kind of every day. Like after work, I wanted to keep doing music rather than just like band rehearsals once a week. I wanted to make music in between. And at that point, it was like 2009, 2010. Dubstep was like huge. 2011, dubstep was even bigger, and Skrillex was Skrillex. And I was increasingly just intrigued by electronic music production. And I was like, how do they, electronic music production had been around, but I wasn't in that scene. I wasn't going to jump up raves and drum and bass raves so much in like 2008, 2009. So come 2011, I started going to the big dubstep raves, the UKF raves, heard these tunes on these massive sound systems, like in Brixton Academy, for example. And I'll be like, how do they make these tunes? And that's where my curiosity started and where my journey began, really. And then the band stuff kind of stopped, and I just continued making music. Originally dubstep, but then also drum and bass as well. But yeah, that's where it started, really. Rock music. And then prior to me being 18, from like 13, 14, I started playing drums in bands for like this. Yeah, it was like this funded, like government funded scheme thing we had called Rock School. We'd go there like on the weekdays. No, sorry. On like, when there was like summer holidays at school, or in like half-term times, Easter time, stuff like that. I would go there and I would play drums. So that's how it began, really. Devro, another one from the Patreon. I can understand how to make a decent sounding bass, but how do you make it sound full and good when it comes down to playing on sound systems or on good speakers? I understand that you can layer sounds, but I end up making the sound muddy rather than clear. If you have any advice, that would be awesome. Big up Devro, that's a good question. So, you can understand how to make a decent sounding bass. That's good. How do you make it sound full and good when it comes down to playing on sound? Okay. So, yeah, you're right. You've said it yourself. It's layering, and also buses and sends. I utilize sends increasingly as my career has gone on. Also, mono and stereo is a big one as well. Just check it in mono. Check your mix in mono and stereo. If it's lacking in either, like address that. If it's lacking in mono, that's probably where you're gonna find it's gonna lack on bigger sound systems, because the mono sound is straight down the middle. It's very punchy. So just do a little mono stereo check. See if when you press mono, does it lose some oomph? If it does, just look at getting the mono right on there first. Just giving it some mono boost and dipping the sides. But obviously, you're wary that there's a possibility it could sound muddy, which is right. So just keep an eye on your low mids. Your low mids is where things can get muddy, but also low mids are really important. So it's a hard balance, but yeah, double check your mono stereo and make sure it's not too wishy-washy in the stereo and not too weak in the mono. I think that will basically cover it. And then layering as well, really. I hope that helps. Okay, next question. Hatter from the Patreon as well. Big up Hatter. What are your tricks to stay consistent with production, especially when you weren't doing this full time? Any tips for producers trying to get their name out there in today's environment? And another question: if you had to pick 3 plugins for, all right, I'll answer that one next. What are your tricks to stay consistent? At this point, it's become a habit to get in here and just get stuff done, just get a tune done. Like, our phones are always going to be, it's always going to be a distraction. The other day, I accidentally left my phone. It's in the house. My studio's in the garden. I accidentally left my phone in the house, and I was like, "Oh, that's a shame. I'll go get it later or something." And I ended up being so much more productive without the phone in the studio. So I'm pretty sure I'm just going to do that more often, to be honest. So keep the distractions away, and building better habits. So even if you could just tell yourself, I'm going to do 10 minutes. I'm just going to do 10 minutes. I'll put my phone on flight mode, do 10 minutes on Logic or Ableton or Serum, or even watching something on YouTube, educational, to help. Even if you just tell yourself you're going to do 10 minutes a day, and if you commit to that, it's just 10 minutes. So you could work 9 hours, you could work 10 hours, but if you just got 10 minutes uninterrupted just to put into it, there's a chance that when you do 10 minutes, you might just naturally do 20 minutes, or you might naturally go 2 hours because you get on a good idea. So it's just about building the habits, but don't tell yourself you're going to do 2 hours from day one and you're going to do 2 hours every day. You have to just like ease into it, because the creating the habit is the important part. So for me, it's just a habit to come in here. It's a habit to go to the gym. It honestly, it doesn't even it doesn't even cross my mind. It crosses my mind if I haven't been to the gym or haven't been to the studio. So it just becomes like part of your life. It's similar to just brushing your teeth. And any tips for producers trying to get their name out there in today's environment? You know what? It was a different landscape when I was, in my first, when I had my first gig, for example. It was a different landscape. So, like, there was no Instagram. Instagram wasn't. There was just Facebook. My Facebook posts didn't get any. My Facebook posts didn't get any likes for years and years and years. I can't stress that enough. My Instagram posts didn't get likes for years and years and years. But back then, people weren't doing like drop video, like mixing videos and stuff. Really, there was hardly anyone doing that. So the landscape was just so different for me. So if I was coming up in today's times, like, I consider myself still kind of coming up. Do you know what I mean? But like, if I was really, really new, I would just aim to build a network, send out music. Like for me, for example, you're in my Patreon, so you can hit me up anytime and say, like, I've just finished a new tune. Or if you're on the feedback tier, you can be like, I'd like some feedback, and I'll give you an in-depth 2 or 3 Google Sheets pages long of feedback. Or often that happens as well. Someone will send me a tune. They're a new producer. I like it. I play it on my Cool FM show. Then, like, I listen to it a few times on the Cool FM show, and if it starts growing on me, I'll play it in my live shows and stuff like that. And then my peer group or other DJs that I play with, often they'll hear the tune and they'll play it, and that's kind of how I got my name about. I would send it to one of the first DJs that supported my music was DJ Marky, Shimon, Benny L, J-Line, and that was it, But then once an established artist starts playing your music, it encourages other established artists to play your music and to hear you out. So I hope that helps. So yeah, just get that mix down right, and send the tunes out to people like me or other DJs and producers that you rate. If you had to pick 3 plugins to use for the next year, what would those be? FabFilter Saturn 2. I hadn't read this question before, but definitely FabFilter Saturn 2. FabFilter Pro Q4. I haven't bought Pro Q4 yet, but I'm going to. and Vital. Is that classed as a plugin? It's classed as a VST. If we're talking plugins, Slate Digital All Access Pass. Or if I can't choose Slate Digital All Access Pass, then Slate Digital EQ. There's an EQ module. I forgot the name of it. FGX. I would use that for sure. For the next year, definitely. Thank you for that, Hatter. Jimmy Wilson, big up Jimmy. Are we going to get beer can rhythm this year? No. Tarek. Sorry. Yeah, no, I don't think you get the beer can rhythm. You know that when I done that track and other tracks around that time, it was COVID times. I wanted to build my YouTube, so I started setting those little challenges for myself. Turns out you can do a lot with just you could tell yourself you want to make a track from just all different points of a cup or something. You can it's good to set yourself challenges, but I won't put that out. I mean, unless I would have to spend time to finish it, and that mean time that would mean time away from making other tunes and doing really cool mixes. Tarek, big up Jimmy. Tarek, would you ever do 100% pure Geno mix? I would. Yeah, I'd be down. I'd be down. The way I like doing mixes is I like to have like 80 or 90% Geno tunes, and then like other tunes that I like and that blend well, because there is just so much good music out there. So, but I would be, if that's something that you would be interested in, I could do that. I'll put it in the Patreon, or if you guys want to see that, just leave a comment down there, and I'll see what I can do. Jared Jestable Rico, big up Jestable. How do you keep clarity in producing tracks and volumes too? Can you ever redline, or is it always minus 6 dB on synths, etc.? Also, when making a sound on Serum VST, how do you make the noise so that it is in key? Thanks. Oh, okay. Good question. How do you keep clarity in producing tracks and volumes too? Nowadays, it's very common and widely used. I was chatting to... Oh my God, his name's on the tip of my tongue. Junkmail. I was chatting to Junkmail about this. Back in the day, there were, like, people would use the limiter. They would blast the limiter. But today, it's much more widely used to just put a soft or a hard clipper on your master by means of either like a camel fat or a distortion plugin with a setting. In Logic, you got the bit crusher. If you put the drive all the way to 0, but you put the clipper to clip, it will clip. So clipping, absolutely. You can clip on buses and sends, but then also onto the master as well. You can clip and limit as well. I think the order is clip first, then limit. Can you ever redline, or is it always minus 6? Hey, Jared, man, you can redline. You can redline if it's, there's a few releases I've done where it's redlining, and there's a few releases, but most of my tunes are not redlining. When I submitted my remix to Sony for Push Up, this is quite a high profile original tune. And they come back to me. They were like, "Your tune has digital distortion," and I was like, "Oh, okay, no worries, I'll get rid of it." So I changed the mix so there wasn't digital distortion. Sent it back to them. They were like, "Wow, that was really fast." I was like, "Yeah, well, it just I was just leaving it redlining. So you can do it. It just depends on if it's not audibly like clipping, but it's like, you know, it's going into like plus 14 decibels. I think there's a couple of my tunes that I've released that are like into plus 14 decibels. Then yeah, you can do that. So I've been told you can do that. I've done that. That's how a lot of the classic jump up was kind of made. It was just ran hot through the master. Also, when making a sound on Serum VST, how do you make the noise so that it's in key? In the noise bit, just I have a piano here. So I have a MIDI keyboard, but also a piano, so that like I could and the piano is not connected to the Logic. It's just, you know, so I can always get the key. I just like to have the piano there, just so I can always get the exact key, you know, because sometimes these synths, with the way I use these synths, it goes out of key real quick. So yeah, I just like to have the piano there and just check, man. Yeah, if you're making a noise, just check to a piano. That's all I can say, really. So yeah, big up Jared for that. Joe Eldry, McEldry says, big up. How do you keep a good sleeping pattern in a job like this one? Do you still do a morning ice bath if you're straight home from a rave? That's a great question. My sleep pattern, I was speaking to Sub-Zero about this, it's something what I like to do. So say I've got 4 weekends in a month, and I'm gigging every weekend, once or twice per weekend. So you got like 4 to 6 or 7 gigs or something in the month. On the Sunday, you're gonna be knackered. I'm done for on Sunday, and I don't drink, but I'm sleep deprived. A lot of traveling. So come the Sunday, what I like to do is Sunday I like to leave clear, but I will definitely have an ice bath on the Sunday. Again, it's a habit, and it wakes me up, and I can't lay in for very long. Like I just can't. I can never lay in. I'll be super tired, but I can't lay in past like, you know, 10 o'clock, something like that. So yeah, I'll get up, have an ice bath, but I'll be knackered on the Sunday. Like I'll be fully knackered, so I won't schedule in any like gym work. I don't do gym on Sundays. I might go for a little walk or something, but I'll get an early night on the Sunday, but I'll be tired. But then I'll get up, you know, normal time, whatever your normal time is on the Monday morning, and I will start afresh like that. I'm a bit dusty, like a little bit dusty on the Monday, but I like to get back into a routine ASAP. You know, I found that's what works for me. But Sunday is a write-off, really, because you're not going to be well rested. Excuse me. So I would say, yeah, it is. That's how I try to keep a sleeping pattern. The only problem is when you've been doing this normal pattern all week of waking up maybe 6:30, going to bed at like winding down definitely by 10 p.m, going to sleep by like, you know, 11. Come Friday or Saturday and you have a gig, and if you're playing at 3 a.m. and you haven't had a chance to nap, you're knackered, bro. You're tired. So then you're relying on stimulants. You're relying on coffee. You're relying on Red Bull, whatever it is to get, you know. But when I'm behind, as soon as I get behind, it's the journey there. If the journey that, you know, the driving, if I'm driving 3 hours to get there, whatever. As soon as I'm behind the mixer there and the loud music and the vibe, you're running on adrenaline anyways, so I'm always awake for the set, but it's just the journey before that and after that. So yeah, the answer to that is you stay tired, but you just try to keep on top of it. But I won't have an ice bath as soon as I get home at like 5 a.m. I'll have an ice bath when I get up, otherwise that will just wake me up. So those, yeah, big up Joe. Those were the Patreon questions. And a couple questions from the YouTube. If you could collab with any artist on a tune, who would it be and why? I gotta say Skrillex. For me, two reasons. There's the fact that I think he's a really good songwriter. He uses distortion. Actually, probably like 9 reasons. He uses distortion in a really unique way, even in his pop tunes. Like, I really like how he's like can make pop music with like by like overly distorting vocals and stuff. I really like that. But then also, there's like the fact that when I was, he was one of the, he was kind of the top guy in electronic music or in dubstep. Like, I'll rephrase that. Obviously not in dubstep. He wasn't the. It become Americanized, obviously, and Skrillex was he was like the leader of that. And then whatever happened to the more deeper sound of dubstep. I was into both. Don't get me wrong, I was into both. But the bro step type of dubstep was like a real big thing for me. All the like Circus Records stuff, and so there's just a lot of. He's had a lot of eras, and I've liked all the eras that he's done. So, and I feel like it's important to evolve as an artist, and I feel like he's done that really well. He's now reinvented himself, and done pop, and then come back, and he can do anything. He can do underground, he could do pop. I like that in an artist. I like that, and you could tell it's him always. So yeah, big up, Squill Mac. Big up. And the last question, Fireflake DMB 470. Good to see you on here, mate. This is that's a regular commenter here. I really want to know the jump up typical mix down better, like on what volumes you're hitting kick, snare, sub, and mid bass, or do you mix into a limiter? So many questions. In brackets, old jump up producer from the 2000s here. Also, what preparation for a modern loud club pre-master? Great question. Questions. You have asked. Okay, yeah. So my kick, snare, sub, and mid bass is so I start from the ground up. I will go from sub to kick. Well, from kick drum, snare, then sub. My sub. I like to have it bouncing around where the 0 is, to be honest. Can't really, just as the maximum amount that I can put in there as possible. I like to have a low mid sub in there as well, so around the 100 hertz. Then my kick is not as loud as the sub. My snare is not as loud as the sub, and my tops are like a bit under my sub as well. So when my tracks go to be mastered, generally they will trim my sub because they're like, oh, I want it to be all level, and that's just if that's how the label want it, that's all good. But when tunes get released on my label or Crewcast, we leave it as my master, which is a loud sub, but not as loud kick, snare, and tops. And the mids as well. Like the sub is the loudest thing in my tracks, but there's with sidechaining you can make it very very you can make the kick and snare very very audible. So that's why I choose to have a louder sub. Because when I play it on sound systems, it's gonna just hit a bit better. Do I mix into a limiter? I used to, but now. No, now I don't. I generally will mix into a clipper, hard clipper. What preparation for a loud club pre-master? For a modern loud club pre-master. So for a pre-master, so I make the track into a clipper, making it loud for the club. And then if they want a pre-master, so that's my final. That's loud as hell. The final, nice and loud. But if you want a pre-master, then I will put I would like to do a video on how I do pre-masters, but I will put like gain reduction manually on every single every single send and bus, and reduce it from there. I won't do it on every single channel. I'll just do it on the sends and the buses, so that you still get the whatever the raw element inside the channel is still happening. So if my synth, for example, this happens quite a lot, where like my synth will be like blasted, synth is going into the red, like the serum is like bounced into the red or whatever, but that's just created the, you know, whether the sound is meant to sound clipped and over distorted, that's the nature of that sound. So if you remove that, then you kind of change the dynamics of the sound. So I'll aim to keep that. So I'll do it on sends and buses, but I will do a video on how to do a pre-master, or how I do pre-masters, if that will help. But yeah, that is it. That was a perfect time for questions. Actually, half an hour. I had no idea how long it was going to be, but I hope you find this video useful, and I hope if anyone else or the same people have any other questions, we can do another one of these. But definitely check out my release that's out today. It's out on my label Clan Records. If you're interested in joining the Patreon, I'll put a link to that below as well. We have a great community there. We also have a great community on this YouTube. So thank you for being involved in the YouTube. And big up. Remember, it gets like that. And let me know in the comments what else you want to see. Big up.